It happened on a Tuesday morning in the marble lobby of Hartwell Industries, one of the city's most prestigious tech firms. The kind of place where executives in $1,000 suits rushed past security without a second glance, where the glass elevators gleamed, the imported coffee flowed, and everyone knew their place in the carefully maintained hierarchy. But on this particular morning, that hierarchy was about to be shattered in a way no one saw coming, especially not the three men in designer shirts who thought they owned the building, because the old black man they were humiliating, the one they dismissed as nothing more than a janitor, wasn't who they thought he was. And the truth? It was about to destroy their careers in front of everyone. The morning had started like any other. Samuel Wright pushed his cleaning cart across the polished floor, the wheels squeaking slightly in the vast lobby. At 72 years old, his movements were slower than they used to be, more deliberate. His gray hair was cut close, his janitorial uniform pressed neat despite its age. His dark hands, whether from decades of work, gripped the cart handle with quiet dignity. To most people who rushed past, he was invisible, just part of the building's maintenance, like the plants or the furniture. But Samuel had learned long ago that invisibility had its advantages. You saw things. You heard things. You understood things that people in power never imagined you could comprehend. "Excuse me." A sharp voice cut through the lobby's ambient noise. Samuel looked up to see three men, in their late 30s, standing near the elevator bank. Their suits were expensive, tailored, the kind that announced their wearer's importance before they even spoke. The one who called out, tall with slick-back blonde hair and a watch that probably cost more than Samuel's yearly salary, was smirking. His badge read Marcus Pemberton, Senior Vice President. The other two flanked him like loyal disciples, already chuckling at whatever was about to happen. "Yes, sir," Samuel said quietly, stopping his cart. His voice was measured, respectful. Years of experience had taught him the safest tone to use. Marcus gestured dismissively at a coffee spill near the elevator doors, the brown liquid spreading across the white marble. "This mess, how long has it been sitting here? We pay people like you to keep this place clean, don't we?" The way he said, "people like you," carried extra weight. His companions snickered. Around them, other employees were starting to notice, slowing their walks, glancing over. Some pulled out their phones, though whether to help or record, it wasn't yet clear. Samuel nodded slowly, pushing his cart toward the spill. "I'll take care of it right away, sir. Sometimes accidents happen in the morning rush." "Accidents?" Marcus laughed, a sound without warmth. "Is that what we're calling incompetence now?" He turned to his friends, voice rising deliberately so the growing crowd could hear. "You know what the problem is? Standards have dropped. Way back when people took pride in their work. Now, we're just expected to accept mediocrity." Samuel knelt down, his old knees protesting, and began wiping up the spill with practiced efficiency. He didn't respond. Years had taught him that silence was often the wisest choice. But his hands never shook, never rushed. Steady, controlled. The hands of a man who'd weathered worse storms than this. "Hey, old man." Marcus stepped closer, his expensive shoe nearly touching Samuel's hand. "I'm talking to you. Don't you think you owe us an explanation? Some of us actually earn our positions here. We work 70, 80-hour weeks. We drive this company forward. And then we have to dodge coffee puddles because the cleaning staff can't do their basic jobs." One of Marcus's companions, a red-faced man with a beard, chimed in. "Maybe he doesn't understand English properly. You know how it is." The comment drew uncomfortable laughter from some onlookers, though others shifted uneasily, their expressions troubled. Samuel finished wiping the spill and stood slowly, gathering the soiled towels. His face remained neutral, but something in his eyes had shifted, a flicker of something the three men were too arrogant to recognize. He placed the towels in his cart and turned to face Marcus directly. "Is there anything else I can help you with, sir?" Samuel asked. His voice was still quiet, still respectful. But there was a quality to it now, a subtle edge like steel wrapped in velvet. Marcus smirked wider. "Actually, yes. I've been meaning to talk to someone about the overall cleanliness standards. See, my office on the 42nd floor? The trash wasn't emptied last night. The windows have streaks. And honestly, for what this company pays in operational overhead, I expected better. He glanced at his friends, feeding off their encouragement. Maybe you're just too old for this job. Ever thought about retirement? I mean, at your age, shouldn't you be sitting on a porch somewhere? The crowd had grown now. Dozens of employees, frozen in the lobby, watching. A young woman near the security desk had her phone raised, clearly recording. The security guard himself, a middle-aged black man named Gerald, stood behind his station with his jaw clenched tight, his hand gripping the desk edge so hard his knuckles had gone pale. Samuel looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then, instead of anger, something unexpected happened. A small smile crossed his weathered face. Not a submissive smile. Not a fearful one. Something else entirely. Something that made Marcus's smirk falter just slightly. "You work on the 42nd floor," Samuel said slowly. It wasn't a question. "Senior Vice President of Acquisitions." Marcus blinked, momentarily thrown. "That's right. And you are." "Samuel, right," the old man replied. Then he added, almost conversationally, "Tell me, Mr. Pemberton, how long have you been with Hartwell Industries?" The question was so unexpected that Marcus actually answered, "For years. Not that it's any of your business." "For years," Samuel repeated, nodding thoughtfully. "That's good. You've done well for yourself. Rising to SVP in just 4 years. That takes intelligence, ambition. I'm sure your parents are proud." The gentle tone seemed to confuse Marcus. He'd been ready for confrontation, for submission, for any reaction except his calm, almost professorial response. "What's your point, old man?" "No point," Samuel said. "Just making conversation. You see, when you've worked somewhere as long as I have, you develop an interest in the people around you. You learn about them, their backgrounds, their accomplishments, their characters." He paused, his dark eyes steady on Marcus's face. "You learn who they really are." Something in that statement made Marcus's face flush red. "Listen, I don't have time for whatever game this is. Just do your job and stay out of my way." "Of course," Samuel said quietly. But he didn't move. Instead, he glanced around at the crowd of onlookers, at the phones recording, at the faces ranging from uncomfortable to outraged. Then he looked back at Marcus. "But before I get back to my duties, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard the story about the janitor who wasn't a janitor?" Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What?" "It's an old story," Samuel continued, his voice carrying clearly through the silent lobby, "about a man who worked his way up from nothing, started at the very bottom of a company, sweeping floors, emptying trash. And over 30 years, he learned every single aspect of that business. The operations, the finances, the people. Every detail. He became the kind of person who understood the company better than anyone else possibly could." One of Marcus's friends laughed nervously. "What does this have to do with anything?" Samuel ignored him, his gaze still locked on Marcus. "And then one day, that man retired from his position of power. But he loved the company so much. He couldn't quite let it go. So he came back, not as an executive, not as a consultant, but as someone who could walk the halls without anyone noticing. Someone who could see how the company really ran when no one thought anyone important was watching." The color was draining from Marcus's face now. Around them, people were beginning to whisper, to pull up something on their phones. The young woman who'd been recording stepped closer, her eyes wide. "You're telling fairy tales," Marcus said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "Everyone knows the cleaning staff is just what?" The new voice came from the elevators. It was strong, authoritative, and it cut through the lobby like a knife. Everyone turned. A woman in her 50s stepped out of the executive elevator, her gray suit impeccable, her expression thunderous. Jennifer Chun, Chief Operating Officer of Hartwell Industries, was known throughout the company as someone you didn't cross. Behind her came 2 more figures. Thomas Hartwell, Jr., the CEO and son of the company's founder, and Patricia Morrison, the Chief Human Resources Officer. Marcus's face went from red to white in an instant. "Ms. Chun, This is just a misunderstanding. This janitor. This janitor, Jennifer Chin said, her voice dropping to a dangerous quiet as she walked across the lobby, has a name. And if you bother to do even the most basic research about the company you claim to care so much about, you'd know exactly what that name means. Thomas Hartwell Jr. stepped forward, his face grim. He was in his 40s, with his father's strong features and his mother's sharp intelligence. He looked at Samuel with a mixture of respect and concern. "Sam, I'm so sorry. We had no idea." "It's all right, Thomas," Samuel said gently, and the use of the CEO's first name made several people gasp. "I told you this might happen eventually. I suppose I've been walking these halls long enough." Marcus was backing up now, his face a mask of dawning horror. "Wait, Samuel Wright. Oh, God, you're... Samuel Wright," the CEO said clearly, his voice carrying every corner of the lobby, "is the founder of Hartwell Industries. He started this company 48 years ago in a garage with nothing but an idea and determination. He built it into what you see today. He's also my father's best friend, my mentor, and the reason any of us have jobs." He paused, his expression hardening. "Including you, Mr. Pemberton. Or should I say, including you until about 5 minutes ago." The lobby had gone completely silent, except for the soft ding of elevator bells. Every eye was on Marcus, whose face had gone from white to a sickly gray. His two companions had already started backing away, trying to distance themselves from what was happening. Samuel held up a hand. "Thomas, that's not necessary. With respect, Sam, yes it is." Patricia Morrison stepped forward, her tablet already in hand. "Mr. Pemberton, we have a very clear code of conduct at Hartwell Industries. Harassment of any employee, regardless of their position, is grounds for immediate termination. But what you've done today..." She shook her head, her disgust evident. "You humiliated a man who literally built this company, in public, while making racist implications, while mocking his age, all because you assumed he was powerless. I didn't know." Marcus's voice came out as almost a whine. "How was I supposed to know?" Samuel spoke, and though his voice was quiet, everyone heard it. "That's exactly the point, Mr. Pemberton. You didn't know. You didn't ask. You saw a black man in a janitor's uniform and made assumptions. You assumed I was beneath you, that I was less intelligent, less valuable, less human. And that tells me everything I need to know about your character." Jennifer Chin pulled out her phone. "Security is reviewing the footage now, but we don't even need it. There are 40 witnesses here, and I'm betting at least 20 of them recorded the whole thing." She looked at Marcus with cold fury. "Did you really think this was acceptable behavior? Even if Samuel had been just a janitor, as you put it, did you think you had the right to treat another human being this way?" Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. The coffee was... "The coffee spill," Samuel said softly, "was from a cup I saw you drop 30 minutes ago when you were on your phone, not watching where you were going. I was coming back to clean it up when you decided to make it into a lesson about my incompetence." The revelation rippled through the crowd. Several people actually gasped. Marcus's two companions had now disappeared entirely into the growing crowd, their loyalty evaporating. Thomas Hartwell Jr.'s voice was ice. "Mr. Pemberton, as of this moment, your employment with Hartwell Industries is terminated. You have 1 hour to clean out your desk under security supervision. Your access badges will be deactivated immediately. And I want to be very clear. The reason for your termination will be documented in full detail. When future employers call for references, they will hear exactly why you're no longer welcome here. You can't do this." Marcus's voice rose to a shout. "I have contracts. I have rights. I'll sue." "You absolutely can sue," Patricia Morrison said calmly. "And when you do, we'll present the footage from 14 different security cameras, the video currently being posted to social media by multiple witnesses, and testimony from dozens of employees. We'll also present documentation of 3 previous complaints about your treatment of junior staff members, complaints that resulted in written warnings you chose to ignore." She looked at him with something close to pity. "Mr. Pemberton, you didn't just end your career at Hartwell Industries today. You ended your career in this entire industry because this video, it's already going viral. And she was right. Around the lobby, people were looking at their phones, their expressions ranging from shock to satisfaction. The young woman who'd recorded everything was watching her view count climb in real time. Thousands of people already sharing the moment Marcus Pemberton's arrogance destroyed his future. Marcus looked around desperately, seeking any ally, any sympathetic face. He found none. Finally, his eyes landed back on Samuel, and something broke in him. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean—" Samuel studied him for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried that same quiet dignity it had held throughout the encounter. "Mr. Pemberton, I've been cleaning these floors for the past 3 years. Not because I had to. I have more money than I could spend in 5 lifetimes. But because I wanted to understand what had happened to the company I built. I wanted to see if we'd stayed true to our values, or if we'd become the kind of place that measured people by their job titles instead of their humanity." He paused, letting that sink in. "And I learned a lot. I learned that most of our employees are good people. They work hard. They treat each other with respect. They help each other grow." His eyes never left Marcus's face. "But I also learned that we had let people like you rise to positions of power. People who think a title makes them superior. People who've forgotten that every single person in this building, from the newest intern to the CEO, deserves basic human dignity." The weight of those words settled over the lobby like a physical thing. Several employees were wiping their eyes. Gerald, the security guard, was nodding slowly, his expression one of vindication. "Your apology," Samuel continued, "isn't for me. I'll be fine. I was fine before today, and I'll be fine tomorrow. Your apology is for every person you've ever dismissed because of their job, every person you've ever looked through instead of at, every person whose humanity you failed to recognize because you were too busy believing you were better than them." Marcus's eyes were red now, tears threatening. But Samuel wasn't done. "You asked me earlier if I'd ever thought about retirement, about sitting on a porch somewhere." A slight smile crossed Samuel's face, but it wasn't cruel. It was sad. "Mr. Pemberton, I've earned my rest 1,000 times over. I fought through discrimination you can't imagine to build this company. I worked 18-hour days for decades. I sacrificed time with my family, my health, my youth, all to create something that would give people like you opportunities one never had." He gestured around the lobby. "And yes, when I officially retired, I did try that porch for about 6 months. And I was miserable because I realized that what I built wasn't just a company. It was supposed to be a community, a place where people were valued, where hard work and character mattered more than the color of your skin or the designer of your suit. But I'd been gone so long, I wasn't sure that vision had survived. So I came back," he continued, "not as a founder, not as a legend, but as someone invisible, someone who could see the truth. And the truth, Mr. Pemberton, is that we let people like you slip through, people who'd learned to say the right things in meetings but whose actions betrayed their real beliefs." Thomas Hartwell Jr. stepped beside Samuel, his hand on the older man's shoulder. "Sam, I think we need to do more than just fire him. We need to look at our entire executive team, our hiring practices, our culture, because if Marcus could get this far, we've failed." Samuel nodded slowly. "That's why I've been documenting everything, every interaction, every moment that revealed someone's true character." He pulled a small notebook from his pocket, its pages worn. 3 years of observations. "And yes, Mr. Pemberton is in here, but so are others. People who need to be reminded what this company stands for, or removed if they can't embrace it." Jennifer Chin looked at the notebook like it was a holy relic. "Sam, we need to see that. We need to make changes." "You will," Samuel promised, "starting today, because I'm not done yet. I thought I was. I thought I'd give you my notes and fade away again. But this morning showed me something important." He looked around at all the faces watching him, at the phone still recording, at the mixture of emotions on display. "It showed me that you can't fix a culture from the shadows. You have to step into the light. You have to let people know that accountability matters, that character matters, that how you treat the person cleaning your office matters just as much as how you treat the person signing your bonus check. The lobby erupted in applause. It started with Gerald at the security desk, then spread like wildfire. Employees were clapping, some cheering, some crying. The sound echoed off the marble walls, a wall of validation and relief and hope. Marcus stood frozen in the center of it all, a man realizing he'd become a cautionary tale. Security guards were approaching him now, their expressions professional but cold, as they escorted him toward the elevators. He looked back one last time at Samuel. "I really am sorry," he said again, his voice barely audible over the applause. Samuel met his eyes. "Then learn from this. Grow. Become better. And maybe someday you'll look at another human being and see their full humanity instead of just their utility to you. But you won't do that here. You'll do it somewhere else, hopefully as a better man than you are right now." As Marcus disappeared into the elevator, his career and reputation in ruins, Samuel turned to Thomas. "I need to update my resume." Thomas laughed despite the tension, a sound of relief. "Sam, you don't have a resume anymore. You're coming back officially. Chief Culture Officer or something. I don't care what we call it, but we need you, not as a janitor, not as a ghost in the hallways, as a visible reminder of what this company is supposed to be. And the cleaning cart," Samuel asked with a slight smile, "stays in storage," Jennifer Chin said firmly, "unless you want to bring it to board meetings as a prop." The crowd laughed, the tension breaking into something lighter. But the moment's significance wasn't lost. Everyone present knew they'd witnessed something important, not just a racist being exposed and fired, but a reminder that dignity isn't determined by job titles, that respect isn't earned through power, that humanity transcends hierarchy. As the crowd began to disperse, people made sure to thank Samuel, to shake his hand, to acknowledge him, not as a founder of a corporation, but as a man who'd reminded them of something they'd almost forgotten. Gerald came over from his desk, his eyes still wet. "Mr. Wright," he said quietly, "thank you for what you said, for what you did. I've been working this desk for 12 years, and some days—" He trailed off. Samuel gripped his shoulder. "I know. Some days it feels invisible. Some days the disrespect cuts deep. But Gerald, you matter. Your work matters. And anyone who can't see that isn't worth your time or your pain." Later that day, the video would have millions of views. Marcus Pemberton's name would trend on social media, a cautionary tale about arrogance and racism. Hartwell Industries stock would actually rise as news spread of their decisive action. And Samuel Wright's story would be told and retold, inspiring people across the country. But in that moment, standing in the lobby as employees returned to their days with a little more awareness, a little more hope, Samuel just felt tired. Good tired. The exhaustion of someone who'd carried a weight and finally set it down. "You okay?" Thomas asked quietly. Samuel nodded. "I'm 72 years old. I've been fighting battles like this since I was 17. And I'm tired, Thomas. I'm so tired." "Then rest," Thomas said. "You've more than earned it." But Samuel shook his head, a spark returning to his eyes. "Not yet, because if I've learned anything these past 3 years, it's that this fight isn't over. It's not even close. For every Marcus Pemberton who gets caught, there are 10 others who are smarter, subtler, more careful. And they're counting on people like me to get tired and give up." He looked around the lobby, at the gleaming marble, at the success he'd built from nothing. "So I'll rest when I'm dead. Until then, I've got work to do. Real work. Not cleaning floors, though there was dignity in that too. But changing hearts. Opening eyes. Making sure that the next 72-year-old black man in this building, no matter what job he holds, is treated with the respect that every human being deserves." "Then we're lucky to have you," Thomas said simply. Samuel smiled. "No. I'm lucky to have built something worth fighting for, and lucky to have people willing to fight alongside me." And with that, he pushed his cleaning cart one last time toward the service elevator, leaving it there as a symbol of what he was leaving behind and what he was returning to: the fight for dignity, for respect, For the simple revolutionary idea that every person, regardless of their job or their skin color, deserves to be seen as fully human. Because in the end, that's what power really is. Not the corner office or the expensive suit or the impressive title. Real power is the ability to lift others up, to see their humanity, to fight for a world where a 72-year-old man doesn't have to pretend to be a janitor just to find out if his life's work still stands for something meaningful. And Samuel Wright wasn't done fighting. Not by a long shot. Have you ever judged someone based on their job instead of their character? Ever looked past someone because their uniform didn't impress you? This story reminds us that dignity isn't determined by titles. It's determined by how we treat every human being we encounter, regardless of their position. If you believe respect should be universal, and that character matters more than career status, hit that like button and subscribe. Because the most powerful people aren't always the ones in the corner offices. Sometimes they're the ones everyone overlooks. And that's a truth every single one of us needs to remember.